Ladies and gentlemen, I've been charged with the task of laying out some recommendations for positive change based upon the work that we've done in different parts of America over the past 2 decades. I've been a human rights advocate for most of my adult life. I've seen a lot. And from what I'm seeing, things are getting deeper and deeper. And I want to make reference one other person before I come to this concluding summary. I want to reference one other person because, again, it ties us back to the observation I made at the very beginning based upon the quotations from Bruce Wright, from former Justice Bruce Wright. The observations he made and the parallels that I see between African Americans and Muslims today. We published this book in 2003. It's entitled The State of the Union 2003. Don't say you didn't know. On page 27, there's an essay entitled Rewriting the American Rule. And in this essay, what we did was we talked about and referenced a high-level government official, a part of the Justice Department, one of the top deputies of former U.S. Attorney General John Ashcroft, who was the first high-level official to openly admit the government was engaged in profiling the Muslim community. I'm going to read this page. A year ago, while in the city of New York on business, I came across an interesting report in the June 25th, 2002 edition of the Village Voice. The article was entitled Court Jousters, a small cartel of conservative lawyers rewrites the American rule. I'm going to skip down. For some time, I had wondered when and under what circumstances would a high-level U.S. official openly admit and defend the government's use of racial and religious profiling. Well, I got my answer in this report. Viet Dinh, a Vietnamese immigrant who came to America as a young child, was identified in the report as one of the leading figures in the Justice Department's, quote, cartel of conservative lawyers, and was quoted as saying, quote, the U.S. does use racial profiling, not for identification but for investigation, end quote. When questioned on the criteria employed for such profiling, his response was, quote, the criteria Al-Qaeda itself uses. Listen good. 18 to 35-year-old males who entered the country after the start of 2000 using passports from countries where Al-Qaeda has a strong presence, end quote. 18 to 35-year-old males. These were the primary targets, and still are. Even though, as we've seen in cases like the Holy Land Foundation case, the case of Mohammed Salah and Dr. Abdel Halim Ashkar in Chicago, and a number of other cases, they will go outside this age bracket whenever the need arises. But there was something else that he said that was, for me, very striking. He said, and this was in the address that he gave to American Bar Association that took place that year in January in Naples, Florida. He said, quote, we are reticent to provide a roadmap to Al-Qaeda as to the progress and direction of our investigative activity. We don't want to taint people as being of interest to the investigation simply because of our attention. We will let them go if there is not enough of a predicate to hold them, but we will follow them closely. And if they so much as spit on the sidewalk, we'll arrest them, end quote. Now the message is here And then he went on to say that if you are not squeaky clean, or if they are not squeaky clean, we will arrest them and put them in jail. And this is what has been going on throughout America and in other parts of the world. When they can't do it through young, primarily Muslim males, romanticizing jihad over the internet and in the chat rooms, and getting caught up in terrorist conspiracies as a result of engaging in speech that puts them at risk. If they can't do it that way, well, then they will send in agent provocateurs. And we've seen this happen in case after case after case after case. I just got the signal now. I've got to tie this up. So I'm going to end in just the next 2 or 3 minutes with very specific recommendations. First of all, everyone, every concerned citizen, everyone who considers himself or herself to be a patriot, everyone who loves this country, as I do. Sometimes people will get the impression that Mauri Saalakhan, because of his criticisms of the government, he must hate America. No, I love this country. The roots of my family go generations deep in the soil of this land. This is my home. I love home. But I believe that the most healthy kind of love is doing as much as you possibly can to make your country live up to the better part of itself. This is a requirement on us. This is a moral imperative. And I think we have got to get back to the morality and the ethics of the issue. The forces that are driving this country and oppressing Muslims in very overt ways, they're just a stone's throw away from oppressing those who are not Muslim. And in fact, there are a significant number, a growing number of non-Muslims who are being caught up in this web of deceit and literal destruction of this country and all that it's supposed to represent, theoretically. What do you think the message was that was conveyed when they went against one of the most principled and courageous lawyers in this city, Lynn Stewart, the way they did? What do you think the message was?